I'm going to trace out Gregg Fleishman's puzzle chair or plywood chair. This article appeared in Fine Woodworking April 1976. I contacted Gregg and I asked him if I could draw out the chair and cut it on the CNC machine. Using this PDF file, I was able to extract the diagram. Then I had a print shop print that PDF file full size. Shown here, I'm going to trace out or digitize that diagram using Logic Trace 2018, and I've selected Tracing Polylines. The first trace is going to be to trace out the perimeter of the chair. As you can see, I always mark where I start. That saves having a crossed vector. When I finish that perimeter trace, I'll create a file to save that part of my tracing. A point to note here, there is an edit command, so if you do make a mistake, you can go back to that spot, toggle it, delete it, and retrace. Now I'm going to start tracing the internal parts. You can see where I've marked a lot of my spots where I started. I marked those spots because it's pretty easy to get confused with drawing on the internal parts. Because the tracing was continuous on the internal parts, every once in a while I would take a break at a red mark. And again, I mark those marks because I don't want a cross vector. Because if you start digitizing past the red mark, you will just continue the trace. It's pretty easy to trace. You just spend a bit of time around the round parts and then just touch once or twice on the straight parts. So it goes pretty fast. I slowed down the video here so you can see where I touch a bit more frequently around the round parts, but I don't touch too much on the straight parts. So yes, it does go quick. But it is a continuous trace, so if you make a mistake, you'll have to restart from the spot that you started. Now that we're getting near completion of drawing out the chair back, we'll save the chair back DXF file. Now we'll start drawing out the chair seat. Again, I'm using Logic Trace 2018 and I've selected tracing polylines. Tracing the seat was a lot easier than tracing the back. It's a lot less detailed. Again, if you make a mistake, there's an edit command built into the program. Just toggle over to that section you made a mistake, delete it, and retrace it. I find it very easy to trace out full-size diagrams because the detail areas get bigger to trace. Now that we've got two DXF files, we're going to load those files into Vectric Aspire 10.0, check the vector quality, and create the toolpath for a CNC cut. Of course, I always like to run the simulator and see how the cut's going to look. Now I'll load the seat DXF file, check the vector quality, and prepare to do the toolpath to cut out the seat. And again, run the simulator to see how the seat's going to look. Here I installed a 3/4 inch plywood sheet that's been stained, and we're running about 80 inches per minute with a 1/4 inch end mill carbide. I just use wood screws to fasten the plywood sheet to my slave table. I keep my fade rates down pretty low. I don't push it, so the cutting out the back took about 66 minutes and cutting out the seat took about 24 minutes. I find, what's the point of pushing it? I'm just going to end up breaking a carbide bit or messing up my piece. Once the cuts were done, I was excited to push out the parts and assemble the chair and see how it looks. I was amazed how it fit together. It just fit perfectly and tight, and I was able to sit on it. The chair takes the shape of your back. Now I took those same two DXF files, the chair back, the chair seat, and I'm going to shrink it down so I can make a chair out of 1/8 inch masonite. So the chair is going to end up being about 6 inches high. Almost dollhouse furniture. Now I'm going to load these DXF files into the CO2 laser. I'm going to cut this out of a white masonite. Some people call it a white hardboard, and we'll see how that goes. I sized the files to fit the 1/8 inch masonite. Amazing, there's the finished chair, and there's the little chair on top of the big chair. It's amazing how it kept its proportionality. This is a picture of Gregg's website. This is some information on Gregg, and I'd like to thank him for letting me use the diagram so I could cut it out in the CNC.